me today is Peter Berkow. Peter is a producer, recording artist, and journalist who has been supporting the vibrant live music scene here in Chico for the past 50 years. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
Of
It's an
course.
honor.
Yeah, no, I'm thrilled to have you. So tell us a little bit about yourself beyond the bio. You've
Oh.
got 75 years of stories and experience. And
Where do I start?
yeah.
I'll start with every morning when I wake up, I go and find out what my wife is up to, and she takes a break, and we sit down and play music together.
Love it.
At 75 years old, that's a real, it's a pleasure to
Yeah.
have somebody in the family who's also a musician.
Yeah.
And I also happen to be deeply in love, so that really helps.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so fun. How long have you lived in Chico?
It will be exactly 50 years in August.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What brought you here?
Oh boy, that's a story. Where do I start?
Yeah.
I wanted to learn about the recording industry, so I moved to Los Angeles and I got the most commercial job I could possibly get working for David Cassidy and the Partridge Family. And I had been working with a lot of other musicians who went on to, be pretty famous. Michael McDonald from the Doobie Brothers. He's a big star again because of Yacht Rock. And a guy named Dan Fogelberg. I don't know if your generation knows of him, but they both had platinum records. And the record label was trying to get David Cassidy to break into the FM radio market.
Yeah.
So they printed up a 45 record with no label on it, and they gave me this big bag of marijuana and stuck it in the trunk of a rental car, and they sent me north. And they said, go to every FM radio station that you can find and roll up a big fat one and get the DJs stoned and then see if they can guess who this artist is. Okay. Am I allowed to say that? I guess it's legal now.
It's legal. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't legal back then. So I came to Northern California and I saw these beautiful little towns, and may I do a little show and tell here?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
When I finished that trip, I went back to Illinois where I had grown up and where my roots were. I went to my apartment there, and I had this. This is a picture of me from my album.
Love it.
This is one of my vinyl albums. By the way, if you want, I can bring in the wax cylinder ones or the 8-track tape. But there's a map up on the wall there, and I had circled every college town in Northern California. I decided I want to live in a college town when my first album drops. And Chico was the first one I came to, and I fell in love with Chico the moment that I saw 1 Mile.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh, why go anywhere else?
Yeah.
And within a week, I ended up on stage at the Women's Club.
Wow.
And found somebody there. They wanted me to sit in with them, and I've been playing music here ever since.
That's amazing.
That's the short version of the story. When I never made it to Arcata, I never made it to San Luis Obispo or Santa Cruz.
You came here and stopped.
Fell in love with Chico. It has such a vibrant arts community here.
Yes.
And I was just folded into the arts community immediately. People were so loving and accepting here. And for 50 years, it's been that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you noticed it sounds like it's much the same as it was as far as
people complain about lack of venues and things were so good in the good old days. I don't believe any of that. I think there's so many good venues to play, so many great new musicians. I've been playing with some of the younger musicians in town here, and they're so accepting of me, even though, I'm some old codger. But yeah, it's still very vibrant. I mean, things like your show here, acknowledging the arts. I've listened to many of your podcasts already, people that I know, Michael Bone, Dave Elke, Webby, Webster Moore, an amazing musician and now a good friend. And then some people I've never heard of because of your show. Dragon Boy, he's real interesting. I've been aware of him. I think he plays drums with Mike Wolfchuk's group.
I know he plays drums. Yeah.
There's This is great. Acknowledging the arts, supporting the arts, this space here, what you guys are
Yeah,
doing with this.
yeah, yeah. This is the first recording in the Maker Radio space.
Well, Maker
So
Radio alone is a
yeah.
story here,
Oh, I
right?
know.
So just the fact that you can listen to it driving around in your car
Yeah,
downtown. How creative is that?
yeah,
No, I love it. Chico's still really a wonderful arts community.
yeah. It absolutely is. Yeah, and so it sounds like that's what kept you here ultimately.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
put a band together within the first year that I was here, and we used to play. Here's another show and tell thing here. There's so many stories behind this piece of vinyl. Um, Check this out.
Oh wow.
If you see in the bottom corner there's a nightclub called Cabo's, which is now the Winchester Goose.
Oh nice.
And I recorded my first live album in that particular building.
Uh-huh.
And that artwork was drawn by Sylvia Massey, who went on to
Okay.
be like a world famous producer. She's put together
Yeah.
albums by Tool,
Oh wow.
Prince, Tom Petty, Johnny Cash, System of a
Holy
Down.
moly.
She won a Grammy last year with Jason Isbell, and she's also an excellent artist.
Yeah.
So
No
this was
way.
a record that I produced. There's a different track by a different artist on every track,
Oh
and
cool. Uh-huh.
local radio station.
Yeah. That's awesome.
KFM supported that.
Yeah,
And,
cool.
so
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
I was.
KFM. That rings a bell from my mother-in-law named a cat after KFM.
Oh, how funny! I love it. So yeah, I've been doing things like that ever since, and all the loving musicians that are in this town supporting each other.
Yeah.
There is a really good band in Chico, Spark and Cinder.
Uh-huh.
They've been around since then. I
Oh
think they're
wow.
coming up on their 50th
Oh
anniversary.
wow.
And,
Yeah.
and they're
It's
still
still going.
and they're still going.
Yeah.
I love those guys.
Yeah.
Wonderful stuff.
Yeah. No. That's yeah, that I mean that we're here to toot Chico's horn. Like
Yeah.
that's what's so special about Chico is people come here and they continue to thrive.
They do.
Yeah.
And then there's every year there's a new generation of
Mhm.
musicians that come through, and
Mhm.
people that you just go, oh my God, look at how talented they are.
Yeah.
Webster Moore,
Yeah.
you've had him on your show, and
Mhm.
Lorna. Oh my
Mhm.
goodness, the music that they're putting out, their original songs, and
Yeah.
their chops. Webster's an amazing keyboard player. And,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's so many young bands. I try to keep going out, even though it's probably much easier for somebody my age to stay home on the couch. But
Uh-huh.
I got to get out and keep hearing new music.
Oh yeah.
It keeps
Yeah.
me alive.
Well, and just from even a year ago when we were just starting this podcast, it'll be almost 2 years actually in July, but things were just getting going again post pandemic as far as live
Yeah.
music, and now it feels like it's just full blown. You can expect all the venues to be full. It's really nice.
One of the reasons that I circled college towns is I grew up in Champaign-Urbana, which is the University of Illinois, and every college town has a feeder system. So there's a new generation
Right.
of musicians that are coming in, getting to know each other in the dorms, putting a band
Right.
together. A
Yeah,
classic
right.
story,
Yeah.
going all the way back to the Mother Hips band. They're
Mhm.
really famous now, and they met each other in the dorms.
Right.
Bog. I don't know if you remember that group of musicians. Michael Bone was in that group,
Right.
and they did some amazing things. They all met in the dorms.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of kids in the dorms, I could guarantee right
Yep.
now, who are getting their instruments together and,
Mhm.
going down to the lounge and working out their first songs.
Yeah.
They'll be down at the Naked Lounge next week
That's right.
playing
Yeah.
some music, amazing music, and we need to get out there and support them.
Yeah, absolutely we do. Yeah. Do you have a favorite local spot to just hang out, or do you have a favorite venue in town?
I love the women's club just because, I've played there so many times, and we're
Mhm.
going to be playing there again in April with our new group. I really like Mulberry Station because it's
Yes.
family friendly. Somebody
Yes.
like you with a child can go in there,
Yep.
hear some live music, you're right, and
Mhm.
eat pizza, and he makes great beer. Roland's a wonderful brewmeister.
Yeah.
I'm really starting to get interested in the Winchester Goose.
Yeah.
I,
There's a lot going on there.
maybe because for me it's hallowed ground.
Right.
Because I played there so many times in the 70s with my
Yeah.
band. But they've put some work into that place. The bar top is a split black walnut tree covered with urethane. It's gorgeous.
Mhm.
And I really like Marin, who's kind of organizing the music there. And
Yeah.
we're going to be playing there, my wife and I, first Sunday
right.
of every month. We're going to be just doing a duet, playing the jazz brunch there.
Awesome. Starting in March, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
And it's just so fun for me to be back on that stage after 50 years, you know. That's where I started, you know.
Yeah.
At least with my Chico music.
Yeah, for sure. Very cool. So how did you get started making music? Back to the very beginning.
I was at the University of Illinois, and I was a pre-med major, and Vietnam happened, and I decided I did not want to go to war and kill people that I didn't know. And so I applied for a conscientious objectorship. And I got it, and I ended up doing 4 years of alternative service instead of going into the Army at this Unitarian church, which the first thing I did is I sold all the pews and I turned it into a nightclub. And I started playing there. And I mentioned Dan Fogelberg. He came in there, and we met each other and started playing together as a duet. And my original music was kind of folky, and it evolved into more of a jazz thing. But I just didn't want to be a pre-med major anymore. So I finished my first degree. Was literally, I went to a recording studio and recorded an album and turned it in as my undergraduate thesis.
Wow.
I called the album Thesis.
Nice.
And it was kind of funny because they gave me financial aid and everything, and I disappeared for a year.
Right.
They're like, where'd Berkow go? We want our money back. And I showed up with the finished album.
Yeah.
And when that album dropped, I didn't want to be stuck in Illinois. So that's why, you know, cutting the story way short. You only have a half hour.
Yeah.
I ended up in Chico because I wanted to be in California when the album dropped. So when that album came out, I was here.
Yeah. All right. Very cool. And, you know, you mentioned you started off with kind of a folk sound and moved into jazz. How has your sound kind of developed and changed over the years? Were there any, like, tipping points or?
There was. Yeah. I had my first album out. I went down to the Chico State Jazz Band and I watched them rehearsing. And I went to every member of the band and I said, I need a rhythm section. I gave it to the drummer, and I gave a copy of my album to the bass player and to the sax player and the guitar player. I said, if you guys would like play with me, I'd be interested in putting a band together. And I got a call from the drummer. He said, we're having a rehearsal. Why don't you come on over and jam with us?
Yeah.
So I walk in and they go, all right, Liquid Swag. 1, 2, 3, 4. They launch right into my song, Liquid Smog, and they had already been rehearsing it and ready to go. And I'm like, I guess I have a band.
Yeah.
It was
that's
that
awesome.
fast.
Yeah.
And they were very jazz oriented. So I started leaning in that direction. And that's kind of what I'm into right now. It's mostly jazz. So
have you, explored other styles or things throughout the years?
I've played every genre you can imagine. Country and bluegrass and classical and, Tuvian throat singing if I could.
Yeah.
I love music, and I'm always into experimenting. And I've worked as a producer with many other artists too.
Right.
So every time I work with somebody who's really good, they inspire me and I try something new.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just organizing sounds that you find and putting them together in some sort of interesting pattern. It fascinates me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it always opens up things that you never considered before, like something that I've really enjoyed is throughout this project is getting to hear the thought processes and different ways people approach things. And that totally opens up new ways for me to express myself creatively.
Well, you're a visual artist.
Right.
And there's a big connection between recording a record and being a visual artist. You start off with a blank canvas, and then you start splashing colors or sounds on it, and you see what you come up with. And sometimes you have a plan and you're going to paint an apple. And other times it's totally abstract.
Yeah.
And I just got to flow with it.
Yeah.
I'm so excited I love recording. In fact, right after this podcast, I'm going to the recording studio.
Oh, exciting.
My wife is going to meet me there. We're going to do some overdubs. Webby's coming down. He's going to do some. I'm really excited about this new project we're working on. It's a 6-piece band. We have Webster Moore and Trisha, my wife, both on keyboards.
Awesome.
We have Joe Craven, who's like an internationally famous violin and mandolin player, sitting in with us. Chris Wenger on guitar. He's a whole podcast on his own. Mike Wolfchuk on drums. You should definitely talk to him on one of your shows. Mike's a story. Wonderful man. He has this full 10-piece drum group called Wolf Thumb. It's all drums.
Oh, wow.
And when they play, you can't sit down. It's all about dancing. And, I just admire all of those players. So again, I'm just very, very lucky to be playing with musicians who are way better than I am. The best piece of advice I ever got was, when you put a band together, make sure that everybody else in the band is a better player than you are.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the only way you get better.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that is a great piece of advice for sure. Do you have a favorite song that you've written with that group?
With that group?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because my role in that group is more of an arranger.
Okay.
And so we're doing all sorts of stuff, Chick Corea songs and Thelonious Monk tunes and a Steely Dan tune randomly. And what I'm doing is trying to arrange them in a way like nobody else has ever played them.
Right.
So I'm not writing original material yet. I've written and recorded so many songs, I don't even know how to pick a favorite.
Just what floats to your mind first?
There's a song called Ruby's Ranchito.
All right.
Which is about a Mexican restaurant that there's a line at breakfast and beer, it sure starts the day. And they used to open up at 6 a.m. and all the musicians who would play the nightclubs around town would be up still.
Yeah.
And we'd all get together and kind of hobnob and talk about, where did you play last night?
Yeah.
And, be drinking a beer and eating huevos rancheros. And there's a line in the song, the flies dive in comfort, the plants are watered from holes in the ceiling right over your head. And the cook was barely awake. He shouldn't have finished the keg. And people are always requesting me to do that song. And it paints a portrait of Chico culture, I think. The cuisine was actually marvelous, even though the building was falling down.
Yes, that's usually how it goes, right?
It really is. It really is. So I guess that's one I would. A favorite.
Yeah, love that. You mentioned that you play music with your wife almost first thing in the morning every day. Do you have any rituals or routines when it comes to?
We do. We, my process is I'm a full-time teacher still.
Right.
Online, and I read 400 essays a semester. And what I'll do is I'll read an essay and I'll play my bass. And I'll read an essay and I'll play my bass. And if I add it all up, all day long, it's not like I'm practicing 5 straight hours.
Right.
But I get a lot of playing in
that.
Right? So it is kind of like a carrot and stick thing.
Totally.
It rewards me. But we also have a ritual where we just try to play music and learn new songs every day. And so Trisha's always pushing me, hey, let's play this song. Let's play that one. Or I'll be listening to something on Spotify and I'll go, oh, listen to this artist. I'd love to do this song. And so it's a very creative process. We just play music together every day. Yeah.
How awesome to live with your collaborator.
It really is. I like being married a lot. So much I've been married 3 times. But I'm still really good friends with my first wife.
Good.
We had a child together, and second one passed away. But I got it right the third time. So it takes a few trying. You learn from your mistakes.
That's right. Yes. Yeah, for sure. So what is the best part about being a musician in Chico?
All the other great players.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, it's just, I'm so excited to see the old timers like Spark and Cinder and the new musicians like Webster Moore and Chris Wenger, Lorna coming through and playing like just amazing stuff. I love Smokey the Groove.
Yes.
All of Smokey the Groove, I think of them as youngsters. They're just celebrating their 10th anniversary gig coming up here. So, it's just, there's so much great music in this town. There really is.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I stayed. It's a community. It really is. When I think of the group that we have right now, I think of it as a community of friends more than a band. We only get together and play live 4 or 5 times a year.
Yeah.
And maybe spend more time in the recording studio than we do it on stage. But that community of friendship is worth every bit of it. Webster, come over for dinner. I'll go out and play basketball with Chris. I'll go and hang with Mike and his kids. And they all inspire me to keep growing and to stay young.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
The option is to go live in a nursing home and just kind of shrivel up and die. And I don't want to do that. So I just want to keep playing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keep
no,
creating.
that is like the main thing I have gotten from this conversation is just continual curiosity.
Being a lifelong learner.
Yes, yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, it keeps you young.
Yeah, it does. And the creative process, I mean, if you can learn to live your life artfully.
Yeah.
So you don't just get up and work a job and come home and binge view and scroll and go to sleep and get up and repeat the whole cycle. I mean, that's what this place is all about. I can tell, I can feel it in the air.
Yeah.
This is a creator's paradise.
Yeah.
You know, you guys are here to support somebody who's got a vision and they want to keep following it.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really unique thing to be an artist and to be able to pull something out of nothing, you know, and make a sound, make a mark. It's really a special thing that we all have access to.
And everybody can do it.
Yeah.
I mentioned Joe Craven. Joe and I are writing a book together. I'm really excited about it. It's called A First Aid Guide for the Aesthetically Wounded. And the premise of the book is that everybody can create visually, musically. It doesn't matter. And many of us have been stuffed down. Somebody has said, you can't sing. Sit in the back and pretend to sing. Just flap your lips, but you're out of tune, so don't sing.
Yeah.
How crushing that can be to a young child.
Yeah.
Or marking up an English paper with red marks and saying you can't write. And then that person feels they can't write for the rest of their life. This place gives people permission to be an artist, to be a musician, to explore, to make mistakes. You learn from making mistakes. Webster and I are working on a song together, and one of the lines is that they say a man's an expert if he's made 10,000 mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, I've got 9,999 more chances.
Yeah.
To make the mistakes, to get out there and play something that didn't quite work, do it again.
Yeah.
Do a painting. Not my best painting, but that's okay. There's plenty of blank canvases to get started on. Right?
Yeah. Well, you have to get through the garbage to get to the good stuff too.
Speak more.
Yeah.
You're an artist.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like if you have bad painting days, you can't quit after one bad painting day. Like it helps to think of it all as a continual process. And like, okay, this piece of garbage that I don't ever want to show anyone, like, had to happen in order for me to get to the next thing. You got to get through the garbage.
You know what's funny? Is you get that piece of garbage, you set it aside, and come back, look at it 5 years later, and it's like,
that wasn't so bad. It's inevitable. Yeah.
Absolutely.
For sure. Is there anything else that you wanted to share or talk about? Let's see. We've talked about you're working on recording with the BEEtKEEPERS.
The BEEtKEEPERS, such a fun project. Our little community of friends. We're going to be playing in April again at the Women's Club. And we're going to have the full Wolf Thump band with us.
Awesome.
And the last time we did that, it was so much fun. I love that building.
Yeah.
So we started off, we played the first set, and our last song, the full 10-piece Wolf Thump band joined us.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Everybody just jumped up and started dancing. Yes. You know, it was 16 people making music. It was not rehearsed.
Yeah.
It was so good we decided to do it again. And they pushed all the chairs aside and people danced nonstop.
Amazing.
For an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a blend of music and dance and community and people realizing I can move my body and have some fun and not be afraid to express myself. That joy.
Yeah.
That I just want to do it again. It was so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds awesome. So that's April 18th.
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
Yes,
great. And where can you get tickets for that?
You know what? KZFR is going to sponsor it for us.
Oh, great.
And there'll be a lot of stuff on the air about that.
Yeah,
and,
okay, cool.
I know it'll be Pullens and Music Connection, and you can buy tickets at the door. Maybe. I don't know if we'll sell out in advance.
Yeah,
And there'll be some sort of Eventbrite put together.
Yeah, great. Well, awesome. That's exciting. And then we mentioned jazz brunches at the Goose, starting
the first Sunday at the Goose.
Yes,
We played one, and it was such a success. I was stunned, really. Actually, Trisha and I were a little bit wary of it because we've been playing with this big 6-piece band. It's like, can we pull it off?
Right,
as
right.
a duet?
Just the two of us,
She's such a good player. It's like, I want to take a break, and she just kept going. And she's so good by herself that I just sit there watching her play. So,
yes, have a little mimosa on the side.
So that's fun. And it's, again, I just love Marin, and that building has so much potential, and I'm really, really hoping that it's going to take off and become vibrant again. You could see the list of famous people who have played in that building. It would blow your mind.
Yeah.
Tower of Power and David Crosby from Crosby, Stills and Nash, and Nirvana.
Oh, wow.
I mean, on and on and on. It was like big stars play that itty bitty stage.
Yeah.
And it's got a legacy. I mean, it's been 5 or 6 different names over the years. The Blue Max, the Palms. Before Cabos, it was a nightclub of some other generation. We've lost touch with over the years.
Yeah.
And then in between, it was Harriet Music and other things. But that building has some charm, and they're adding to it. So I'm hoping that we're gonna be part of that growth.
Yeah, beautiful. Love it. And are there any other ways people can reach out to you, get in touch, to go see you at a show?
We'll probably be back at Mulberry Station again. They're very nice to us, and I suppose if you're really creative and you do some Google searches, you can find some of our music online from different iterations of our band. Trisha and I used to have a vocal group, and we did a bunch of things where we were just singing, and she wasn't even playing piano. I was playing guitar mostly. And when the pandemic hit, I also, at the same time, got a little bit of arthritis, and I couldn't do all the finger picking that I used to, and it just felt natural to switch over and play bass, and she wanted to stretch out and play more piano. So if you search us, you'll find a bunch of our old vocal stuff.
Perfect.
Ruby's Ranchito is out there on Google.
Awesome.
Look that one up.
All
That's
right.
pretty fun. We recorded it up at the old Blue Room Theater.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. Very cool. Love that. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. This
half an hour just went by so fast.
I
Disappears. I didn't talk too much.
No, that's what you're here to do. You're here to do all the talking.
Yeah,
you did great.
Yes, it's a little weird talking about myself. That's why I keep going back to talking about people. Webster more. Can I talk about him on the way out?
Yeah.
I have worked with some really famous people like Michael McDonald, and every time I'd see somebody like this, and Tommy Emmanuel is another one I've worked with. And the hairs on my neck stick up. I'm just like, oh my God, this is a worldwide talent.
Yeah.
Webster's one of those guys.
Yeah.
Have you heard his original songs?
No, I haven't yet, but.
Oh my God. He
too.
is such a good songwriter. He has such a beautiful voice. And he can play guitar almost as well as he plays keyboards. I mean, he's a savant.
Yeah.
And I'm really hoping that he's going to get the breaks and the opportunities for that music to be heard outside of Chico.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people like that here.
Yeah,
and
there are.
Hopefully your organization here and your podcast will,
help propel them.
Give them
That's
their
the goal.
first opportunities to get out there and be heard.
Yeah, that's the goal. Well, thank you again. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
It's nice mixing it up with all the people who are continuing.
Yes, for sure.
Grand tradition of supporting Chico artists.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, we will see you around town. Ta-da!
You only call me when you're lonely, darling, when you wanted something to change.
The Chico Creates podcast is presented by and recorded at Maker Radio in Chico, California. Hosted and produced by Kira Barsotti. Theme song is Take Your Time by Lorna Such. We now have official merchandise: hats, totes, mugs, shirts for the whole family, and more at ChicoCreates.com. Sport your support of the show with official Chico Creates podcast merch. This show is made possible by community members like you. I would personally like to thank Melissa Feedy, David LaShawn Montoya, Jonathan Greenfield, Heather Leveroni, Kaylee Huber, Troy German, Kate Thurkill, Bonnie Pipkin, Lindsay Hook, Bree Epley, Scott Grisette, and Johan Caro for their continued financial support of this project. If you'd like to join them, head over to ChicoCreates.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to become a show supporter. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you around town.